E adesso lascio la parola al nostro primo relatore, che è James Grant, dell'agenzia di comunicazione, il gruppo Starworks. James ha cofondato la Starworks nel 2000, alla tenera età di 23, adesso ha 25 anni, James, che ci parlerà della sua esperienza, della crescita dello Starworks e della storia e il futuro di Celebrity Endorsement. Signori e signori, James Grant.
Thank you, Anthony. Okay, so today what we've prepared, excuse me while my fixes, okay. So what we've planned, it's not actually working. Okay, so sorry. So what we've planned is a look at the past, a look at the present, and then an eye to the future. And the reality is celebrity is not going away. We just have to figure out the best way to use celebrity and adapt to things that are changing in the marketplace. So if we look at the past, Italy has always had a very, very, very strong relationship with Hollywood through its brands. And I think Ferragamo was really a pioneer in getting a brand into Hollywood through real relationships with celebrities. From the 20s until the 60s, he pretty much owned the space. So with Sophia Loren, Audrey Hepburn, who I'm told has huge feet, or did have huge feet, the 7-Year Itch with Marilyn Monroe, and then the 60s for Italy were just, for me, a group of classic moments with Fellini influencing film and influencing fashion, and relationships between celebrities and brands, but real relationships where they would actually buy the product because they love the product and they weren't paid to say they like the product. And I think that's a very important thing with Elizabeth Taylor and Bulgari. Onassis wearing Valentino at her wedding. Again, iconic imagery being generated by Italian brands. And then I think the big game changer for the future was really Armani owning American Gigolo, where they actually owned the entire movie and got credited as a actor at the end of the credits, which at the time was huge, and I think really positioned the brand well in America, and it obviously caught the rise of a star in Richard Gere. And these images are iconic, and we always remember them. And I think Versace was really the precursor to celebrity as we know it today. So Versace being much more democratic in his use of celebrity, but again, very much based upon real relationships. So whether it was Elton John or it was royalty with Lady Di, Madonna, and actually here I think is a very interesting point in fashion and celebrity, is where a dress actually launched a star. Actually not a star at all, but created a star overnight. And this may have been, you know, one of the highest moments of her career, quite frankly, and it was because of the dress, and I think that's significant. And I think for us at Starworks, this really led into our agency. It was the creation of supermodels, which again, Italy, Versace had a huge hand in, and putting names to models, creating celebrities out of models, was really the only way we could then go, was to use celebrities. It was kind of set up for us quite nicely. So the present. So Starworks' response to Supermodel was, there is a need for an agency that understands fashion brands, but also understands Hollywood. And we set up our shop in 2000 to be the really first fashion-focused agency that connected luxury brands and fashion magazines with Hollywood. This is a campaign that we have worked on recently with a very important client of ours, which is here, who is here, so, these are the three components that, the three basic components you really want in a campaign. You want a great image, you want the celebrity to be loyal and wear the product on the red carpet, and you want fashion editorial to support that. And they're the three basic key components you need to have. Our process is slightly different. As an agency, we look behind the curtain before we spend any money. We represent magazines and we book content for magazines, and we have an understanding what works in the fashion space, but we also have an understanding that we need to sell product. So it's a careful balance of the two, but through editorial, we get a sneak peek at things before they break. So we screen things a year before they come out. We're at the festivals, and it gives us a real inside track on the future. Interestingly, fashion editorial in Italy has been used in many ways for many different reasons. So Mike Pitt, some of you may know, some of you may not know, was an unknown actor who read for a movie called The Dreamers, which was Bernardo Bertolucci. He didn't get the movie, but he got the cover of L'Uomo Vogue, and through that he then got the movie. So interesting use of a magazine, and really just showed the power of fashion at that time. Justin Timberlake really trying to shake off his image as a boy band leader of NSYNC, and wanted to become a rock star, using, again, L'Uomo Vogue as a platform to aid himself in that transition. Brad Pitt using L'Uomo Vogue to stay relevant, and Prince, who didn't do press in 20 years, when he did, he chose L'Uomo Vogue. So 4 very different reasons for using fashion as a platform. So our process works like this. We were at Cannes, we screened The Pianist, it won the Palme d'Or, and we just had a hunch that this movie was going to be huge. We were then hired by an ad agency in New York to cast a campaign for Xenia, who may also be here. And they really wanted somebody else. But we were really, really sure that this movie was so good that it could translate in the States, and we just felt good about it. And we were right. He won an Oscar, he was wearing Xenia, and then he kissed Halle Berry, and the images ran globally, and the client was obviously really, really, really happy. And this process wouldn't have worked, wouldn't have happened without us being involved, and it's about the insight and having access that was able to create, you know, such a successful campaign. That doesn't happen every time. There are only so many Oscars that get given out, and there are a lot more men's fashion brands and women's fashion brands than there are Oscars every year. But you still want to create iconic imagery that lasts, and again, moves product and looks great. And in order to do that, you must know the brand's heritage, you must understand the demographic, you must know the business objectives, and you must have a really good feel and understanding for the creative team behind the brand. And if you know all of those things, as an agency, quite often the results are great. Here is a short video of some of the stuff that we have done, and I've threaded it with a lot of Italian brands, because obviously you'll recognize them more than other brands. For the record, Rachel Weisz won an Oscar as well. So that's a snapshot of some of the projects we have worked on, and they only come together because we have relationships, probably with some of the hardest people in the world to have relationships with. They're quite easy to find, but they're hard to build relationships with. And they're probably the most important part of the process of putting a deal together. And as time has gone on, and as celebrity endorsements have become more sophisticated and have essentially become the norm, the celebrities team has grown tremendously. And this slide is probably the most important slide of the whole presentation, because if you don't know these people well and you don't have an inside track into these individuals, which you need at various points of a deal, at some point the deal is going to have a dip. Negotiating the deal is 20% of the deal, managing the deal is the other 80%. And there are many areas where it can go wrong. And these relationships are your best chance of avoiding it going wrong. And this is the reason. Before you negotiate a deal, it's always important to gauge interest from the celebrity first. The way you do that, the way that we do that, is through the stylist or through the celebrity themselves or through the publicist. And once we have that interest and we know they want to do the deal, I don't know if you did this on your deal that you did recently, but once we know they want to do the deal, we can negotiate with the agent knowing that they want to do the deal. So the agent has very few places he can move to negotiate with us because we know already his client wants to do the deal. Once we've negotiated the deal, we need great images. To have great images, you need to have a good relationship on set with the commercial agent, with the publicist, and with the stylist. Okay. In addition to that, for press images, you need to know the publicist. For red carpet images, you need to know the stylist. Thank you very much. For fashion editorial images, you must know the stylist again and the publicist. And I think most importantly today is that you need to know the celebrity because you need to get in the celebrity's social stream. And what I mean by that is celebrities are taking control of how they communicate the brands they're associated with, and the only way into that is by knowing the celebrity. So again, these relationships are key. Without them, you cannot put this together. This timeline represents a 12-month usage deal, but the actual timeline is 18 months. So from casting to negotiating to shooting, the press release, the campaign, the PR coverage, the red carpet images to support the campaign, and the events, and then ultimately socializing that is an 18-month process. And again, the relationships we saw before are key to making this all happen. These are the things that can go wrong. Insurance bonds, passport issues, visa issues, private plane issues, which there are many of, travel issues in general, scheduling, conflicts. We covered substance abuse, exhaustion, bad press, and leaked photographs. They all happen, almost all the time. In order to avoid this, the relationships are key. This is what happens when you have the relationships. It's a constant flow of images, of campaigns, of successful assets that you can use to market the brand. And again, this is what your investment is, and if the investment doesn't pay off, it's not worth the money you put into it. Okay, so the future, which is my favorite part. So the future, things have changed. Digital media has taken hold. It's not the devil, it's here. We have to embrace it, we have to use it. The consumer is now smarter than it was. They like us. We've convinced them of the brand, but now they know a bit more than they used to, which makes it slightly more complicated for us. The definition of celebrity is changing, and technology can be used on the flip side for the brand as well. It's not just the consumer that's getting the best out of technology. So these 4 platforms, which you're all aware of, are not going anywhere, and there are more of them on the horizon. Because of social and digital media, the consumer has become more aware of those who influence celebrities. And brands need to fully engage in social and digital media because the consumer expects it. It's just the norm. If you don't, they don't think you're listening to them. And that has never happened before. Because the consumer is smarter, they now know the people behind the celebrity. They know they don't get out of bed in the morning and look wonderful. They know that people help them look like that. The hairstylist, the makeup artist, the stylists. Therefore, the definition of celebrity has shifted. The influencers are becoming celebrities as well. And influencers are becoming celebrities through alternative TV programming and social media. Movies are not getting made the way they used to be. Dramas are not being made the way they used to be. reality TV programming, which is, let's face it, a scary idea for the most part, is actually becoming much, much, much better, and it's being used as a platform to launch the influencers behind the celebrities. And here are examples of that. Madonna, Guido, Gwyneth, Harry Josh, Gaga and Formichetti, which is possibly the most powerful, and then the Olsen twins and Rachel Zoe, who actually has a show and is launching a brand and is making a lot more than some of her clients these days. In makeup, it's the same, and it's also the same for anyone with a voice in fashion that lives online, because through social media, through awareness, through their influence, many people are following them, therefore consider their voice important, and as brands, we need to be utilizing these people to communicate to our audience. Okay, so this is how we're going to embrace the technology and how we're going to move product through celebrity. Currently, celebrities and influencers communicate a lot of what they do without traditional media. Newspapers, magazines are still very important, but they are taking control back. Currently, most brands are not engaging in this conversation. But if this was traditional media, it would be unheard of. We have to be in the magazines with the celebrity. We have to be on television with the celebrity. But in social, it's a new thing. We need to get the brands in the conversation, in the social stream, communicating to millions of people. This is something that must be done to really capture the investment of celebrity. The good news is, because of that, through technology, brands can now be as clever as the consumer and can track any investment they have within celebrities by certain technologies. This one being Fashion GPS for online tracking. If you want to track images from online to offline, there are geolocation tools. And if you want to track from offline to online, there are QR codes. So ultimately, the foundation is the same, the principles are the same, but the tools have changed. And the brands can be just as smart as the consumers. And that's my presentation. Hope you enjoyed that.